Everybody, this is Dream, and today we've got the South Point 400 NASCAR Cup playoff race at Las Vegas. So in this particular race, we have some good options across the price ranges. It's kind of hard to find some real good value in the middle, but there's some cheap options and some expensive options. So I'll just go ahead and get started. Before I do, though, can you please hit that subscribe button and hit that like button on this video? Really do appreciate it when you guys do that. And make sure to comment below, too, if you have any comments about this particular slate. Okay, so let's get into the players. No, drivers, sorry. So, first of all, we're going to look at the fact that we have to get a couple guys below this 83-33 point. This is the Mendoza line. You have average remaining driver on this slate. And obviously, you know, if you're playing NASCAR, that the farther back you start and move up, the more points you can get. Because you get a bonus for every point you moved up or fell back. So obviously you guys that start farther back have some advantage in that perspective, and that's going to be very evident here at the very top of the salary ranges, with Denny Hamlin starting 31st in this track. He's won here before. His starting position gives him a ton of room to get points scored. He has some average races here, but overall he's been pretty solid. And even at the starting position, it'd be hard for him to actually finish worse unless he just crashes out very early in the race. The second guy that I like here is Chase Elliott. He is the second most expensive guy here. Not as consistent here as you would like, but his starting position gives him pretty different amount of upside. Hamlin is a bit cheap, a better bet than Elliott. And I even like Kyle Larson, who I'm going to mention next, a little bit better. He's starting 14th. Chase Elliott starting 20th. He's starting 14th. And in the last 9 races here, he's only had one of those outside the top 10. And his starting position here is definitely an advantage because he is starting in, 14th. And he's a little bit safer than Chase Elliott simply because Chase Elliott hasn't been all that great here most of the time. Then we're going to look at Kyle Busch, who's starting 18th, which is a little bit farther back for him. And he's been extremely good here over his career. And 7 of the last 9 races here, he's been in the top 7 finish, with some, I think, 15 and 18th place finishes as well. So overall, he's in a good spot here. Pretty safe play starting 18th on this track. Then we're going to look at Martin Truex Jr. He's starting 27th. His starting position here makes him a top-tier rank option. I think he's probably one of the best options on this track. He has only had one outside top 8 finish in the last 10 races. Extremely safe option, especially with this really bad starting position. I really do like him on this particular race. Then we're going to look at Kevin Harvick, who's starting 13th. He gets top 10s quite a bit at this track. He's been pretty consistent over the years here, and I look for him to have another good, solid outing. His starting position is not super ideal, but he's a pretty decent, fair price option on this particular slate. Then we're going to go a little bit deeper here, and we're going to look at Brad Keselowski, who has been extremely good here over his career. He's getting top 10s on a regular, though his worst finish here since 2012 was earlier this year. So we do have to take that into consideration. But overall, I do like him at this track, and I think he's a good value play at $6,900. Probably the safest value play, in fact. Then we're going to look at Eric Almirola. His starting position gives him some decent upside here. But there are actually Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is in a very similar situation and history here. And I probably like him a little bit better than Almirola, but Almirola is still a good option based on his starting position and his history at this track. AJ Allmendinger has some decent upside here. He's actually been pretty good at this track over his career, despite never having a really great car. And now that he's been doing pretty good the last 5 or 6 weeks, I think he's in a great spot here to potentially have a good race. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who I just mentioned, he's got a top 10 to top 15 movement bonus potential on this track. He's starting 29th, and he's only $6,000. He's been pretty good at this track over the years. I wouldn't expect him to get like a top 10, but I think if he can move up to like 18th, 19th place in the race, then that will be pretty solid. Then we're going to look at Justin Haley, who is another guy that has a top 20 car, and he's just a decent value play. I don't know that he's going to score 50 points, but a good 30-point race for him would be super solid on this position. Colleague racing looks really good at this track. And then Ty Dillon, he is a kind of a Hail Mary play here. Now he has some upside here, and he's starting way at the back, and so he's a pretty good option. Not my favorite, but he's an option as a Hail Mary, especially if you're trying to stack some of these guys at the top like Hamlin, Elliott, Larson, Busch, and Truex. So overall, I think we have a good options here. It's not the best when it comes to all the top options. This track tends to have a lot of long runs, so you're not going to see a whole ton of wrecks, most likely at least. Probably not to be too many cars, unless cars start just falling apart like they have in some of the races lately. But I think this is a pretty solid track where you kind of have to pay up for some of these guys because they're just too cheap for they're starting too far back for their production potential. So with that said, thank you guys for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below, and have a nice day.